Over the last few years, I have watched dozens of videos that try to cover the topic of cost of living in the Philippines and have found most are inaccurate or do a poor job of actually informing viewers. My main worry here, the reason why I make this video, is that I do not want Western expats seeing these videos and believing they can come to the Philippines for $1,000 a month, $2,000 a month, and that they're going to still be living a comfortable life or a life that they are used to in terms of Western standards. I believe a lot of these videos do more harm than good because it ends up confusing people who do not otherwise understand what the cost of living is here and what they may be sacrificing if they actually stick to the numbers that are given. Now, I'm going to use this video released by Jasper in the Philippines. I'm going to use this as an example to show you how these vloggers are failing you as the viewer and you as someone who is curious to see how of your budget may be impacted in the Philippines.
So what is my monthly budget to live in BGC and Boracay as a 47-year-old expat? I do have a girlfriend and I maintain both residences with long-term leases. Right off the top, we're gonna have the rents. BGC is 45K, Boracay is about 15, so that's 60 right out the gate. 60,000 pesos is going to be a bit over $1,000 a month.
You'll notice this is the only description that Jasper actually gives for any residence that he has or any accommodation. He gives the numbers. He doesn't tell you what you're getting for that. He doesn't show you what his condo looks like in BGC. And so he's not giving you any idea of what to expect for 45,000 pesos. Now, I can tell you what he has. He lives in Uptown Park Suites in Uptown BGC in a studio apartment. So you, for 45,000 in the Uptown Park Suites, you better be prepared to basically live in a glorified hotel room. It is a studio. It's not a very large studio. It's got a tiny kitchen. And so that's what you're going to be living in. And now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this, but understand that this is not what everyone coming from the West is going to expect, or they're used to more space in many parts, unless you're coming from, inner New York City, which is not the majority of the country, or a big city. You're not going to be used to being crammed into this sort of small space. Now, maybe that's all you need. Maybe that's all that you're looking for here is just something that is a glorified hotel room. That's what you want. That's what you need. That's it. And you're good. But Jasper doesn't go over any of this. He doesn't set any expectation for you whatsoever. All he says is, I live in Uptown BGC, because he thinks that is prestigious. So he goes, I live in Uptown BGC and I pay $45,000, which is interesting. I think you could do a lot better than $45,000. I'd be curious to know if that's actually what he's paying. And if he is, I don't think he's very good at finding condos here, because he could find what he has for $35,000. So he could save himself a couple $100, but that's neither here nor there. So the interesting part here is that he sets no expectation for what your accommodation is actually going to be like. He gives you no basis of comparison whatsoever. And so he also does this with his Boracay residence, which he says is 15,000 pesos a month. This is a little different than what he said previously. He has gone between 12,000 and 15,000 pesos that he said, which this is going to get you a very, very poor quality place. He says he's on the beach and then he pays 15,000. If you do any research as to a long-term lease, a 12-month lease or above, and you look at what 15,000 pesos will get you in Boracay, I mean, you're talking No, the roof is open. You're talking that the walls don't fully close all the way in a lot of these places. You're talking a very, very old, very rundown, very low quality place. And I suspect that's why he doesn't actually stay there when he's in Boracay. This is why he goes elsewhere and why he's never shown it once. And he's also mentioned that it's not on the beach, that he is a couple blocks off the beach, even though he claims that he's on the beach and that he can somehow step right outside and he's in the sand. He's not. He's a couple of blocks off of the beach. And so this is a very low quality place, but he will not tell you that, right? So you go into this with the expectation is, man, you know what? I don't require much. I can just go and get a spot on the beach in Boracay for 15,000 pesos. No, not really. No, you can't. And the fact that he won't show you this is a way that he's being disingenuous and a way that he's hiding this. He knows that it's not a great spot, but he still acts like it is.
Then we're going to have to factor in electricity bills. Haven't been in Boracay much lately, so your electricity bill will be next to nothing when you're not somewhere. But you will have to pay your electric bill, and will be significant wherever you are. So let's give that another 5K. Sometimes it's 7, sometimes it's 3. It just kind of depends on how much you're running the aircon, if you have inverters, etc., etc. But yeah, I've got anything from like 6, 7 to 3 for the last one. So let's throw another $100 on the electric. So let's just round up the rents to 11. Let's make the electrics 100.
So here Jasper's just sort of pulling this number out of thin air because he's like, well, I've had some that are less, I've had some that are more, so we're just going to kind of go with 5,000. But see here, again, he does not talk about how large his space is. He doesn't talk about what kind of air conditioning he has. He doesn't talk about how often he's running it. He gives you no idea of what his electric usage is, so you have no idea whether yours is going to be comparable to his. You have no idea whether this 5,500 pesos or $100 is going to apply to you because you have no idea what he's doing. He could be running his air conditioner all day, every day in his studio apartment, and that's what it could be. Or he could run it maybe an hour a day. You would have no idea based on this video how much he's actually using things, and you have no idea whether this 5,600, 5,500 peso a month is going to apply to you. Now, just to give a different perspective on this, my electric bill in BGC is around 20,000 pesos a month. 20,000. He's saying 5,600. I'm saying mine almost every month is about 20,000. Now, I'm an American. I run at least one AC here almost constantly. It gets hot. I try and keep the window open when I can, but the sun beats down and it gets hot here. So I'm running at least one of my 3 air conditioners. I have a 2-bedroom unit that's about 76 square meters in BGC. And I have my air conditioners running. I have my computer running. I have a 65-inch TV that runs quite a bit. And I have some other appliances. Obviously, my refrigerator. I have a freezer that are here that my family uses. So you're going to have a wide range of what you can expect your electric bill, especially in BGC, what it might be. Because it's going to really depend on your usage, what the size of your unit is, how much you need the AC, or if a fan running is okay for you. I understand other people are fine with having a fan running. That's cool. But again, there's no context here that will help you make this determination as the viewer watching this.
Then you're going to have to think about food. Food can range quite heavily. Do you drink Starbucks? I've cut out the Starbucks lately, but I'm probably still good for a couple of those a week. So that's probably another $40 a month for my matchas. And you know, the little coffee 3-in-1s or regular coffees that I make and stuff. Let's say another $40 a month for caffeine. So that brings us to $12.40. Then you figure food. Whether you eat at home or whether you eat out is going to heavily factor on that. Look at this cool art here in Uptown BGC. So if you eat out all the time, it's going to be relatively expensive. I'd probably do half-half realistically. And if you have a girlfriend, do you always pay? That's also going to factor heavily into what your budget is. Let's figure that when I go out to eat, you know, could run me, say, $30 when I go out to eat. So if I do that 4 times a week, that's 120 times that by 4, and you arrive at $480 right there. Then for groceries and stuff, that can just totally vary, but usually I'll just buy some chicken or something like that. So that's gonna run, say, another $100 perhaps for the food to eat at home every 2 weeks, let's say. Usually go grocery shopping, you know, $50 a week, $100 stock up every 2 weeks or so. So that's another $200.
What does that $30 of Jasper eating out, what does that get him? What is he spending $30 on when he's eating out? Like, what kind of meal is that? Because I'll tell you what, you can go to Chow King right there and get a meal for a lot cheaper. You can go to the mall there and get a meal and still do less than $30. I mean, you can definitely get a meal for less than $30. Even at the Uptown Mall there, you could walk into Buffalo Wild Wings right there and get a meal for less than $30. So what is that $30 getting him? Where did he come up with that number? Why would he even use this number? But he doesn't break it down for you. He just says, oh, $30. I don't know whether or not it includes his girlfriend. He kind of brings it up, but doesn't say a meal for 2 people is $30. I don't know if that's what he's doing here. Again, he gives no context as to what you're getting for that. Absolutely none. So you have no idea, just starting there. Number 2, when he says, okay, you can cook at home as well, I get some chicken. That's all he gives in terms of this is what I get when I cook at home. Are you just going and buying like boneless, skinless chicken breast and bringing it home? That's it? That's all you go to the store and get every 2 weeks and you're spending $50 on that? Like, what are you getting from the store? Because $50 every 2 weeks is, I mean, that's really low. And this brings me to my other point. It really depends on the kind of goods that you're getting at the store. If you go into Landers, which is right across from where he's standing right now, if you go into Landers, if you go into S&R, you are going to spend quite a bit of money, depending on what you get. These are a lot of imported goods. These are goods that you're used to as a Westerner, and they're great places to shop. I love it in there. I go into Landers all the time. I'm at S&R every so often. I spend more time in Landers. That's where I get my chicken, right? But at the same time, it's going to depend on the type of products that you are selecting. You want a Hidden Valley Ranch for salad dressing or whatever you like, ranch dressing, you're going to spend 570 pesos, over $10 for a bottle of Hidden Valley Ranch at Landers. That's what it costs. So it's going to depend on what sort of Western conveniences or products that you are going to want to continue to consume. You want coffee? There's different kinds of coffees. They have Maxwell and Folgers just like home, but they can be quite expensive. You want the Dunkin' Donuts one? That's over 2,000 pesos for the Dunkin' Donuts for the 1 or 2 kilo carton of that for the coffee mix. So it's going to depend on what you are used to and what you want to spend your money on. This notion that this one size fits all, you'll spend $50 every week, every 2 weeks, it just doesn't work. And I don't know why. And Jasper's not the only person to do this. Vloggers do this all the time, and it seems like they're unable to understand outside of their own little bubble. It seems like they have a hard enough time understanding their own budget, let alone how other people may be shopping. So it never is useful information that's given. And so this is one of my main complaints with Jasper and other Filipino vloggers. When they go over these costs, they don't actually tell you what you're getting for the money that they're saying they're spending. They are not breaking down. These are Western products. These are not Western products. And this is what you're getting. If you want Western products, you are going to spend quite a bit of money. And it's not as easy as people might think to just not use these Western products that you've used your entire life. I would say the older you are, the harder it's going to be for you to just give up the stuff that you have spent 50, 60, 70 years consuming. And so it's dangerous to think that you are going to just live like a local, that you are just going to be buying the same products that Filipinos are used to, and so your costs are just going to be the same as theirs. It's not true. It's not accurate for 95% of the cases, and I hate that this sort of point is glossed over by everyone.
So on top of that, you're going to have transportation, which is not really a cost for me because I live in Uptown BGC. And if I leave, I'm going to the airport. Usually that's going to be once a month.
So basically the transportation section of his video is completely useless because he doesn't use it. Now let me give you some examples of what you may experience in terms of cost. If you're living in BGC and you are taking a Grab somewhere in BGC, BGC is very walkable. You don't always need to get a Grab. Depending on where you live, in BGC, you may be close enough to just walk. Like where Jasper lives, he's pretty close to just about everything he might need. If he's getting an excessive amount of groceries or needs to go to a different mall other than Uptown Mall, he may be getting a Grab, but it's probably not necessary. Now, not everyone lives right in Uptown BGC, right there. There are other places in BGC that are not as close to this sort of shopping, this level of shopping. And so there are reasons to get Grab sometimes in the BGC area. Now, if you are getting a Grab and you're staying in BGC, you're going to spend between 100 and 200 pesos, usually on the lower end of the 100 side. So between 120, 130, that's how much you're expecting in terms of transportation around BGC. You leave BGC. See, I wish that he had included at least what you could expect from BGC to the airport, right? Because he doesn't even give you an idea of what that is. That could be around 300 to 400 pesos. It really is going to depend on the time of day and the traffic that's going on. If you're trying on a Friday afternoon, you're gonna have a bad day. You're just gonna have a bad time, right? You're not gonna have a good time, and it's gonna cost you, if you can even book a Grab for that, it's going to cost you a lot. So, but again, when we look at the cost for this, it's still going to be under $10 to get from BGC to the airport, even at the worst of days, right? You're looking at quite a bit less than that, maybe $7 or $8 to get from BGC to the airport on a normal day, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more, depending on what the rates are. But that's sort of in the area of what you're looking at. On a really bad day, you might have $10, but I don't think I've ever seen rates go higher than $10 to get to the airport from BGC. The transportation here is very reasonable. This is one of the areas that you can save a lot of money in the Philippines. Transportation, getting Grabs, getting taxis, very, very convenient. Much less than having to own a vehicle, maintain the vehicle, and go through the motions of and deal with the traffic. Honestly, here, much easier to just grab a Grab. No pun intended there. Get a Grab or a taxi and use it that way. Pay a couple of dollars really is what it ends up coming to be. Even if you leave BGC, we're talking $6 maybe to get to where you're trying to go, really depending on where you're going. But that's what you can expect reasonable transportation costs to be. And I would say this is one of the better deals you get in the BGC area and just the Philippines in general. Transportation costs are very low, and this is something that you can save on while you're here. Transportation elsewhere, not just counting the BGC area. I have lived in Cebu, and when the most I've ever paid for transportation was from IT Park, where I lived, to New Star, the new hotel and casino that they just built. And this was a little bit further out there. I'm not including the trip to Mall Ball that I took because we took a bus. Even the bus was cheaper than getting to New Star using a Grab. But even then, a Grab to New Star cost around 250 pesos, probably roughly $5 to get from IT Park. Take a look and see what the distance is there. But from IT Park to New Star in Cebu, which is just outside a lot of the main areas of Cebu, was $5. So you can get reasonably anywhere in Cebu City, you can get for easily less than $5 a Grab. Even Grab. Taxis are going to cost even less. But even if you get a Grab, you're talking a $5 ride. It's very reasonable.
And My girlfriend, I pay for dinners, but not really all the time. A lot of times she'll order something, she'll pick up a dinner. So there's not a large cost associated with my girlfriend, which is going to be very rare. But, you know, certainly don't mind treating if you have a girlfriend, obviously.
I'm convinced the only reason Jasper even says this is to once again bring up that he has a girlfriend. He tries to tell everyone as often as possible that he has a girlfriend because this offers absolutely no insight whatsoever. He's like, well, my girlfriend, she pays for dinner and yada yada. So like he offers nothing in terms of what a girlfriend costs him. Now, this is going to be different for everyone. I'm not even going to try to break this down for anyone. This is going to be different, you know, for everyone, depending on where you guys go out to eat. If you're paying 100% of the time, this is just something that you may have to factor in. But again, I'm not even going to do it for this video because the miles will vary so much in this realm of things that it's not even an effective exercise to try and break it down. If you want, I mean, honestly, if you really want an idea, maybe, you know, if you just double the amount that you're paying for food. If you look at your food bill and just double it, you may have a good idea. But honestly, it's not like, unless you're going and spending all of this money on, you know, expensive things for this woman, I have not noticed that my bills have just jumped because I was married. You know, like it's not like things got completely out of hand or different than what I would expect. So it's basically up to the individual to figure this part out. You can double your food expenses. Remember, you're probably not going to double your rent expenses, but it really just depends on your what your current situation is. So again, this part is basically unhelpful to even bring it up, and I'm only commenting on it because of how much this can vary and how you would have to decide what this would cost you.
So we're at about $1,700, $1,800 right there. On top of that, you're gonna have to think about entertainment, going to casinos, going to islands, all that stuff. If you want to factor in my travel, you're probably looking at $500 a month, because you figure even if she pays for the hotel, I might pay for the flights or vice versa. Or I don't mind treating sometimes if we go somewhere, if we go to a casino, whatever. So you're right around $2,500 right there.
Again, no examples of flight costs, no examples of hotels that he's staying at, how much they cost a night, nothing, no details here. He just, well, $500. Yeah, that's what I spent. What did that get you? Where did you go? How long did you stay? Where did you stay? Where would you, based on everything around it, what kind of level of hotel is that? And he offers none of this information. So you just randomly saying, yeah, $500 and that, I'm sure that's helpful to all of you. Like, no, it's not, because I want to know, what flights did you take? From where to where? Like, what were the flights? What were the airlines? What was the airline like? What did that charge you? Okay. Then did you get checked bags with that? Because a lot of the time you don't get checked bags. So what comes with the airline tickets? And then, okay, where did you go? Where did you go? Where did you stay? How much was your hotel? Show us the hotel room. What does that look like? What kind of resort were you at? Was it a Henan resort? Those are very mid-level for the most part. You're going to cost over $100 a night, but they're still not like super luxurious. They're nice. They're nice depending on which one you go to. Some are nicer than others. But there's no way for you to understand what this quote-unquote $500 went to. You have no idea how much something you may be paying for. And then he says, oh, well, going to the casino and stuff. I mean, what are you gambling there? Are you gambling? How long does that last you? What does that actually do for you? What other things are there to do? What do you do, Jasper? What else is there, aside from traveling every few months? Do you do anything for entertainment, or do you sit at home? Because it seems like, based on all of your videos, you do just about nothing. You kind of walk around. And so it looks like you're living, even though you're in a nice area, a very bare bones lifestyle. And that's okay, but you don't represent it as such, right? You don't ever really show that you're like, I'm just at home still, going live again. You're not really going out and doing things. You're not really going out and exploring the Philippines. You're kind of just living here because it's cheaper for you, and that's it. And that's how you're using it, and that's fine. But again, you sort of represent your life as like, oh, this is great, this is wonderful, I'm going and doing these things, but really you're not doing much.
Then you have to factor in toiletries, Lazada items, Amazon. I just ordered $200 worth of stuff on Amazon. Just little miscellaneous things, you know, toilet paper, mouthwash, toothpaste, shampoo, the regular things that you need to survive in the world. So right there, you're gonna throw in another, you know, I can spend a lot of money on supplements, vitamins, stuff from Amazon. Every time I see something I like on Lazada, I buy it if it's, you know, necessary.
So how much does any of that cost, Jasper? You're not going into any detail about how much any of this costs, right? There's a much more limited selection here, I would say, for these items than there are in the West. You have a whole aisle of shampoo and conditioner in the West, and that is not the case here, right? Like, there's a lot less. Head & Shoulders is a really huge brand here. That's going to cost a lot of money. It's not cheap here. These are not things that you would think, oh, these are Filipino prices, I'm getting this for $1 or $2. That's not the case. You're going to spend probably just about the same or more on something like Head & Shoulders for shampoo or your body wash, depending on what, if you get Axe body wash, that's going to be, what, $6-7 it can be for a body wash here, depending on where you get it. And that is what you're going to be paying in the West for something like that. You want Safeguard body wash? You're going to pay less. If you can find something on sale in a Watson's, or a Mercury Drug when it's out in front there, you might be able to get it a little bit less, but you're still not, this isn't going to be pennies on the dollar, even for your necessities, your body wash, your soap, your shampoo. These sorts of things are not going to just be what you would expect it, like Filipino prices to be, right? These are expensive things. Deodorant, they have a lot less here to choose from in terms of deodorant. And if you want a brand that you're used to in the US, like an Old Spice or Axe deodorant, you're going to spend, it's expensive in the US, it's more expensive here. You're going to be spending quite a bit of money for it. At least $5 for a stick of deodorant for some of those. Now, you want to use the liquid Nivea deodorants that they use here. Maybe you can find those on sale. Maybe you can get them for about $2, but it's going to be a different experience for you to go towards those. And they really push the more liquid deodorants rather than the solid bar deodorants that we have more in the West. That's something you need to be aware of. Toothbrush and toothpaste, you could get toothpaste for about $2, maybe less depending on what kind you're getting. There's a couple of different brands here, so you can do okay in that. You're not going to pay tons of money for that. Toothbrushes are typically on the lower end as well, so you can do okay there. But again, the fact that he doesn't go into any of this, and he gives just he doesn't even give a number for toiletries. He just kind of gives you a total at the end, and it really gives you no idea how much you're going to spend for any of this.
So basically, I'm probably landing in the $2,700 to $2,800 range, and that's with 2 residences. That's with a flight to Boracay every month. Or if I choose a different island and just leave my place sitting there. I don't Airbnb out either place. Those aren't generating any income. So to be safe, if you want to live my life and you find a cheap beach place at any beach, it doesn't need to be Boracay. I lucked out on that deal, and it's not, the Grand Hyatt or anything. It's just on the beach, and it's a nice, very good sized place, probably 45, 50 square meters, right there. So if you want to be safe, you're looking at $3,000. That's with a beach place. You don't have a beach place, you don't travel all that much, could probably do it in the low 2s. I can tell you that because I live here.
And there's the quote-unquote credential drop that Jasper loves to do. I can tell you that because I live here. He always likes to say, I live here, so I'm an expert, guys. You can take what I'm saying, even though I didn't break anything down for you. I know what I'm talking about. It's ridiculous.
So that's just right off the top, a rough estimate when you factor in food, paying for meals here and there with your girl, toiletries, rent, electricity. I forgot to put in Wi-Fi. That's $27.
For reference, I have PLDT. I pay 2,699 pesos a month, which is just under $50. And I have speeds, it's a 600 megabits per second download, and the upload is anywhere I found between 100 and 300 megabits per second. So I pay a little bit more. Mine's a little bit more of on the expensive side in terms of plans. You can get a 200 megabits per second download speed for 1,699 pesos. 400 megabits per second is 2,099 pesos. So I mean, and I end up paying $26.99. So I work remotely. I really need faster and more stable internet. So this is what plan I chose, but you can do it for cheaper. But just so you're aware of the speeds and what they're going to cost you, that's a little bit of a breakdown for PLDT. Globe is going to be another carrier that you can possibly use. It's really going to depend on your building. Sometimes the buildings are, I don't know how the service providers are working here, but sometimes they'll say, oh, we're full in that building, we can't provide any more units. So I'm not sure exactly how their networking structure is on the back end, but you may have to choose between Globe and PLDT. I have used Globe and Cebu. They were pretty good. I did have some outages. PLDT, I don't think I've had a single one. The outage could have been from the fact that I was in Cebu and not in BGC. So you can take that as well into consideration. But yeah, so those are some of the prices you could expect, the carriers that you can expect, and kind of see for yourself in terms of what you're going to use.
I forgot to put in my 1,000 pesos for my phone bill postpaid plan.
So no details about what his phone plan is. I have a phone plan through Smart. I not needed to use them, but they were one of my few options. I have an iPhone 14 Pro Max, which requires the use of an eSIM. I don't have a physical SIM card slot in my phone. So this is going to limit the access in terms of carriers for you if you're using a phone that does not have a physical SIM tray located in it. Now, my plan is 599 pesos a month, so about, $11, a little less than $11. And I get 10 gigs of data a month and unlimited calls. I have a phone number that they give me and unlimited talk and text, I guess, which comes pretty standard with just about everything nowadays. But yeah, so I get 10 gigs. I'm on Wi-Fi quite a bit, so I don't need unlimited data. I'm not going out and downloading things outside of my Wi-Fi connection or anything. I find that 10 gigs is way more than I actually need than when I go out. So when I'm navigating Grab, when I'm using these sorts of things when I'm out, even if I want to watch videos when I'm out, I'm not using over 10 gigs. So it's another really good deal here in the Philippines, I would say. Less than $11, and I'm getting my cell phone plan here is exactly what I need, probably a little even more than what I need here. So that's what you can expect here. There are tons of other plans and other carriers that you can use, especially if you're still using a phone that has a physical SIM tray. When I had my old iPhone, when I was living in Cebu, before I had upgraded to this one, I had an old iPhone that I could use physical SIM cards in, and I would buy data for like 20 gigs of data or something along those lines. I don't remember the exact data plan, but it was quite cheap. I mean, we're talking probably about $10, maybe less. And I would buy the data, and then it would just, until you used it, you had it. So, and I would hardly ever use it. So that lasted me months. I would have to go back and look at how much I actually used and what it was, but you can do very well here in terms of cell phone plans is really the point. And that you should definitely do your research on it, but this is one area where you can save quite a bit of money.
I forgot to put in water, which is, next to nothing.
He glosses over water here. It's important to note that you're not drinking the water out of the tap here. It is important to get drinking water either delivered or carry the bottles up yourselves. There are also utilities, the water going to your condo. I have never spent, I don't believe, more than 1,000 pesos on this, and we're a married couple with a small child, and even we have never spent over 1,000 pesos for, which is what, $20, less than $20. So your water bill, you could expect it probably be pretty low. Here, not going to be the same as electric, which can range into a very, very, a high amount. But the water here is pretty reasonable. And keep in mind that you will need to get it brought to you, or you're either going to go down and get it yourself, or you're going to have it brought to you in terms of drinking water, because this is not going to be something that you're filling up your cup with, the faucet and drinking it.
So I'm right below $3,000. Have I had 4,000 peso months? Sure. I mean, $4,000 months? Sure. When I went to Siargao, or I was in Cebu, or I'm traveling, or I'm doing this, or I'm doing that. Sure. Probably my biggest month ever here has been 4,000. I've had months before I was a YouTuber, when I first started and I wasn't monetized, when I let my BGC place go and I was just living in Boracay, that I probably spent $1,000. It can wildly range for most guys. If you don't get a girl that's a high earning Filipina, that's going to be a really big cost, because you're going to want to eat out, and it's double everything, double Starbucks in the morning, double meals, double. Nothing wrong with that. I think that's great, but that isn't my experience with my Filipina.
Just another example of Jasper trying to talk about how elite his girlfriend is. But look, one thing that he glosses over here that he doesn't actually mention is that having a girlfriend can actually save you money. A lot of the time, once you get a girlfriend, maybe you're going out even less. You're able to have better meals. Maybe they're a good cook. Maybe they're able to cook meals that you were unable to do with the ingredients that you were unable to identify or have never seen before. Maybe they're able to cook meals at home for much cheaper than going out. Maybe they save you money. This is a possibility. Jasper seems to think that dating someone automatically means that it's a cost to you, unless you're him. And then, oh no, there's no cost to me. Definitely not. I have an elite Filipina. She's totally paying for herself. I pay nothing, and she's totally with me. Not for my money, guys, just so you know. Everyone else, they're dealing with that, but not me. Super hard to find. Got it. Was I just wonderful and waiting for this Filipina to come along. And man, it's such a great thing that I'm such a high value guy. Now, this isn't the case. A lot of the time, Filipinas are going to save you money here. They're not going to... I don't know if he has the stereotypical view of them where they're like out trying to take you to Fendi and Prada and all of these places to try and milk you dry, but it's just not happening, right? It's really very, very uncommon to see that here.
So all in all, 3,000 is a safe number. I'm probably right around the 2,800 mark. That's BGC and Boracay. If I dumped Boracay, probably be around 23 to 25, because I'm just basically paying the rent if I'm not there. And that's ours. It was prepaid for a year, but we still factor that into my monthly expenses. I do not have health insurance, so that's not a factor.
I've been waiting the entire video for him to bring this up. So Jasper is in the Philippines with no health insurance. Jasper is here and he is not taking into account what healthcare costs actually at all. I don't think he has any idea what healthcare costs here. I think that he has kind of put it out of his mind. He has said before, he's not a planner. He's just kind of going by the seat of his pants. He's just, spontaneity is the spice of life is a quote that he said. He doesn't really think ahead, right? So he does not think about what happens when he actually needs to see a doctor, when he actually needs healthcare. Now, he's 47, right? His health is only going to get worse, okay? He's getting to a point where it's going to start declining, okay? And so he really has not considered this, and you can tell how short-sighted he is and the fact that he hasn't really accounted for this. Cost for healthcare in the Philippines are not as cheap as people think. They are not going, this is not a $10 and you got everything you need and you're good to go. There are very few hospitals here in the Philippines where you will have the same experience as you would in a Western hospital. These hospitals, the quality of these hospitals is much lower, both in terms of facilities, equipment, doctors, and their experience. It is all much lower. Now, if you talk to Filipinos, they'll say, oh no, it's not that way, like our healthcare is good. This is because most Filipinos have no other basis of comparison for their healthcare. They've never been to a Western country where they have experienced healthcare there. And so they have no idea what they're actually comparing to. So they'll say, oh yes, our healthcare is good, this is great. It is much lower in terms of quality than Western hospitals are. One of the points about healthcare that Filipinos will make is that they're exporting so many nurses, that nurses are going elsewhere, and they're such good nurses that Western countries are taking them, places like Japan, which they are. But this is because there is such a shortage in these countries. Like in Japan is a major one, where they do not have enough nurses because their population is essentially getting older and they're not having enough kids to replace the aging population. So they're having to look to import more and more people like in healthcare. And so they're willing to take Filipino nurses and then train them a little bit more once they get there. But this isn't some like testament to how wonderful Filipino nurses are. It is strictly due to the lack of talent in the countries that are importing them. In terms of pricing for healthcare in the Philippines here, there are public hospitals that are cheap. But you need to understand what comes with that. We're talking no private rooms. So you are in a room with 20 other people. You're talking extremely long wait times, hours and hours and hours for even basic things. And the quality of care is going to be very, very low. You can go the private healthcare route, and even the quality in the private sector here varies wildly. There are a few hospitals in the Manila area here where you would receive what I would consider on par with Western style healthcare. And even that is questionable, right? If you go into St. Luke's here, this will be the closest that you come to receiving a quality healthcare on par with Western facilities. Now, my wife gave birth in Ortigas, in the medical city in Ortigas. I found their facilities to be adequate, and I found them to be a higher quality than other places that we've gone here. But at the same time, keep in mind, what did childbirth cost us here out of pocket? Because I have insurance through my employer in the US that does not cover overseas care, right? So how much? So we were cash out, and it cost for normal, regular childbirth at the medical city in Ortigas. It was no complications, nothing, just natural childbirth. And we were in and out of the hospital within, I believe we were there for 2 nights. And that was it. We were able to leave. And this cost about $6,800 out of pocket. And so I settled the bill before we left, and we left. But this is what it cost for childbirth. Now, this is what a lot of Americans will pay with insurance in the U.S. Granted, childbirth is going to cost a lot more if you don't have insurance in the U.S. But if you have insurance, you're going to pay somewhere around this, depending on where you're at. Obviously, your miles are going to vary there. But $6,800 is not cheap, right? This is what you're paying for when you're in a facility that has better quality equipment, is cleaner, is more up to date, has higher quality doctors. This is what you can expect to pay. And St. Luke's is very expensive. My daughter has gotten vaccines, different shots that she's needed throughout. We're talking anywhere between $250 and $350 a pop for those sorts of things. So the visits are not cheap. These are not things where you're going in paying a $10, $10 a copay or whatever it happens to be, and you're good. This is not how it is here. Now, especially if you don't have insurance. Now, imagine later down the road, a lot of the people who watch this or watch Jasper are older guys ready to retire. Now, imagine you're in your 50s, your 60s, your 70s, and you don't have any type of budget or plan for healthcare. This is a huge mistake. And this is a problem in the US that people always talk about. Oh, the healthcare can break you. Oh, there's bankruptcies involved with healthcare. If you come here, something that happens to your health could completely wreck your budget. It has the ability to do so. Or you're not going to be able to just fund the necessary healthcare that you need. Or you're going to end up in some very low level hospital, and you're just not going to get the care that you need. I think this is something that Jasper's going to have a particular problem with, and I think it's going to come sooner than he thinks. And he's criticized other people like Old Dog, other Filipino expat vloggers for going over health insurance options, for talking about healthcare here. He's criticized, he's just sitting on his couch talking about health insurance. Like that's not a big deal. It's a huge deal. And the fact that other people talk about it is of huge value. And the fact that Jasper doesn't value that and goes as far to criticize people over this just shows how little Jasper actually plans for the future, that he's living with very, very a tunnel vision and does not actually consider other things that aside from what is currently happening to him right this second. And so I think it's very important to note the healthcare, what it costs here, what the quality is here, and the fact that Jasper just doesn't see value in that when he's trying to talk to people about coming over here. It just shows you that he's really not he's not someone you probably should be taking advice from. The fact that he can't even value healthcare, which would probably or should probably be sort of near the top, especially as you get older, of your list of priorities for what you might be spending money on here. And the fact that he just glosses over it, doesn't see any value there, and really has no idea himself because he just never has used it. And really, this just goes back to him not ever having health insurance in his life. And I see here he's got other videos talking about how he's lived in Beverly Hills and how BGC is Beverly Hills and how he's gotten all this and he's lived there. And this guy's never had health insurance in his life. He doesn't even know how that works. So all of this to say that if you are budgeting for the Philippines or anywhere and you are not taking healthcare into consideration, you are doing it wrong. You are doing your future self a huge disservice.
I do pay my storage unit back home, which is in the high 150s, or no, it was 154, now it's 180 or something as of late. So I've prepaid it up until later on this year, 154, but then it will be 180 or so after that goes, after that expires or next time I pay. So really, if you factor that one in, I'm right at 3K on the nose. So that's perfect. And basically, you're going to be right around that area. So basically, 3K, BGC, Boracay. You don't have a Boracay 2.5, keep it safe. That'll cover a storage unit back home if you haven't dumped your whole life. Then on top of that, if you do not live in BGC, you live in Cebu, 2,000, you'll be comfortable. I know you can get places for 16K, 20K, a little bit cheaper than a BGC. If you're willing to live in, different areas, Taguig, Makati, cheaper buildings and stuff, you can definitely pull it off for a bit cheaper. You say $2,000 outside of BGC and Greenbelts and power plant, the ritzy areas of Makati. So $2,000 for Cebu, or if you want to live in Mandaluyong or QC or something like that, $2,000, you're comfy.
Jasper's just pulling numbers out of thin air at this point. He's not even doing actual breakdowns. He's just like, it's just gonna be less because that's what I've heard. That's what I think. He has no actual breakdowns of what this is. So you be very cautious listening to the numbers that he's just throwing out there because he really has no idea. He has very, very little experience in any of these areas. He's really never even been around these areas that much, so he has no idea what he's talking about.
Now, can it be done for less? Yes. You find a rental for $15K and you live extremely low, cook at home, penny pinch, don't have a lot of money for dates and stuff. Like I said, I've had months in Boracay where I probably spent $1,000, but that's it. That's my little budget video. Sorry for the rough estimates, but I can tell you, you are solid as a rock with $3,000. 1,000, you're struggling, basically, to be brutally honest. So that's it. If you want to live, outside of the $800 budget, or you're living outside Dumaguete, or you want to just get a taste of the Philippines and have a bit of freedom to go to a beach every month, or to, move around, eat out half the time, Starbucks here and there, whatever you need as far as bathroom products and toiletries. And, that even includes a couple hundred or 100 a month, say, on Amazon products. There's a lot of things you just can't get out here on Lazada. The finer protein powders and vitamins and all that jazz. You're gonna be better off ordering Amazon. $49 orders on Amazon, 99% of items qualify for free shipping, and the Amazon orders get to Manila, usually they'll say like 2-3 weeks, but they usually get there in about a week.
So that's all I'll say about this budget video. I hope that some of these breakdowns were a little bit more helpful than what Jasper's giving you, because he's basically pretending to break things down without giving any sort of context of what he's talking about. So just be careful when you hear these. It's not just Jasper that does this. There's a lot of Filipino expats that like to sensationalize content for views and say, you can retire here for less than $1,000. This is paradise. You can live on the beach and look at this crystal clear water. And this just really is, it's disingenuous. It's not the case. It's painting a false picture of what it's like here. So you really need to be careful of who you're listening to and what they're saying in their budget videos. You need to fully understand what you're getting when they say, well, you can eat here and get food for $100 a month. Well, what food is that? What are you talking about exactly? So just be cautious. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.